all please rise for the bride? We've come together to be the witness of the joining of these two individuals by the bond of marriage. And this is a sacred relationship that was established by God at the beginning of creation. At once it was man's greatest blessing, and now it is man's greatest honor and responsibility. It is not to be taken lightly, but soberly and deliberately in the fear of God. Brandon and Tiffani, thanks you for joining and sharing with them in this very special day. Let's pray. God, we thank you for marriage. We thank you that you were the creator of marriage and that you displayed what true marriage is about by sacrificing yourself, by sending your son. And so today, as we witness this marriage, let you be the foundation of that marriage. In your name, amen. Who's giving this woman to be married to this man? Tiffani and Brandon, you guys made it. You're here, and I know that there were some hills and valleys and times where you didn't know if it was going to happen, but you're here. And I'd love to read what the Apostle Paul wrote in 1 Corinthians 13. It says, "Love is patient, love is kind. It is not envy, it does not boast. It is not proud, it is not rude, it is not self-seeking. It does not easily anger, it always rejoices and keeps no record of wrong. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always preserves. It never fails. And now that these three remain, faith, hope, and love, but the greatest of these is love." You may be seated. As a pastor, I have the great privilege of meeting with people as they get ready for a day like today, and we get to talk about how they met, how they fell in love, but this is different. As we get the privilege of being family together, and Brandon, you get the opportunity to be a part of this family now. And I can say from the bottom of my heart, there's no one I'd like to have more as a brother than you. And so as we jump into this day that you've been dreaming about, the word love is used quite often. And in society today, the word love can be about various things. It can be the love between each and every one of you. But it can also mean about a certain Crimson Tide football team. But love is fleeting. Love can be here and one bad field goal tomorrow. But this type of love is not a love that is like an ocean. It goes in and then comes out. This is a choice that you guys are making. When you look at the Bible, it says that love is a covenant. It is the decision that you two are making, that God created at the very beginning when he was choosing his people, the people of Israel. And when they had the moment, like you're having this moment, they decided that this was the time to turn their back on them. But God, in his covenant, chose that no matter the high times and low times, he is going to remain faithful. And what I see today are two people that are always going to remain faithful to each other. And so as you look at what this word is, this love word, it is patient, it is kind, it forgives wrongs, it does not keep track of any wrongdoings. And you look at those things, and there are going to be days, Brandon, that you have to remember that you love Tiffani, even when you don't like her. I know that's hard to think about, on days that you don't like her, but there are going to be days, but you are choosing to love her. And Tiffani, there's going to be days that you have to remember that you are loving him, even on the days that you don't like him. But you are choosing this day in front of all these people to say that today is the day that I'm committing my life to them. When we look at the choices, you need to understand that when you want this marriage to be strong and true, you have to think about not the emotional moment of this day, but the reason you decided to commit your lives to each other way beyond today. If you choose this, your marriage will be the most fulfilling, rewarding, and fruitful part of your entire life. And people will look at Brandon and Tiffani and say, this is what God is all about. That no matter the good times, the bad times, and the times in between, there is a faithfulness that comes because God is in the middle of this marriage. I remember Brandon the first time I ever met him, and Tiffani was in a moment of being sick. And you had just met her, maybe a couple days, but you just could not come to an understanding of a day apart from Tiffani. Even in a society where we said, you need to be far away, 6 feet apart, masks up, you were there and bringing food, doing yard work, and we knew that this was a man that she had been praying for. Not just someone who could love her, but someone who serves her. And so we are so thankful that this is who you are. In the same way, Tiffani, you are a servant. You serve, and this is what I want your marriage to be someone that outserves each other. You are both competitive people, and I found that out on our first family kickball tournament, that you are competitive. And so my challenge to you is be competitive in serving one another. Outdo one another when it comes to serving, so that when people see you guys, they say, man, these are people that love unconditionally. And when we look at this type of example, this example of serving is obviously found in Jesus. He was someone who sacrificed everything by humbling himself, by taking the form of a man, dying a death that we deserved when we should have lived the life that he lived. But because of sin, he had to take on that shame, and he had no problem with it. He chose to give up his own life so that all who believed in him could have life. And I love what the Apostle Paul said in Romans 5:6. He said, for while we were still helpless, at the right time, Christ died for the ungodly. Jesus' sacrifice was out of his love for us. There is no greater love than to lay down your life for one another. Not only that, but it was done at the right time. Now, time is a tricky thing. When we think about time, we want it to speed up. We want it to slow down. We wish it away, and we desperately want it back. But at the right time, you two met each other. Every day of your life, you are preparing yourself for this moment today. And so today, I want to gift you this clock. This clock represents 3 things. The first thing that it represents is the time that you get to cherish with one another. As you start your new life, as you're starting the chapter that you have, I want every moment to be cherished. Every second that you're on the couch, in the porch, in the kitchen, wherever you go, whether it's this day or 25 years from now, when you see this clock, I want you to think of every moment to cherish one another. The second thing is this, the time that it took to get here. Whether you realize it or not, every moment you have prepared yourself for one another. Good times, bad times, times in between. It built character and who you are today. Because you are not who you were 5 years ago. You are exactly who you are today. And that took time. And then lastly, the time that Jesus did on the cross. When we were enemies of God, he sent his son. When we didn't even know him, he died for us. And so when you look at this clock, I want you to think of the time, the right time when Jesus died for us. And so when you see these, I want you to see these 3. Not how late you are to the next event, but what this represents in your life. And so in this same way, Brandon, Tiffani, I would challenge you to constantly lay your life down for one another, Give of yourself the same way that Jesus gave. Brandon, there's going to be days where you have to choose to put Tiffani's priorities ahead of yours. And in the same way, Tiffani, you're going to have to choose to put your priorities, or Brandon's priorities, ahead of yours. But you have to choose to love one another in that. And so if you could join hands. Brandon, do you intend to take this woman whose hands you're holding to be your lawful wedded wife? And do you pledge before God and man to love, honor, and protect her through good times and bad times alike, keeping yourself to her alone until death separates you? If so, answer, I do.
I do.
Tiffani, do you intend to take this man whose hands you are holding to be your lawful wedded husband? And do you pledge before God and man to be him a loving and true wife, through good times and bad times alike, keeping yourself to him alone until death separates you? If so, say, I do.
I do.
Now repeat after me. Brandon. I, Brandon.
I, Brandon.
Take you, Tiffani.
Take you, Tiffani.
To be my wife.
To be my wife.
To have and to hold.
To have and to hold.
From this day forward.
From this day forward.
For better or for worse.
For better or for worse.
For richer or for poorer.
For richer or for poorer.
In sickness and in health.
In sickness and in health.
To love and to cherish.
To love and to cherish.
Excluding all others.
Excluding all others.
As long as we both shall live.
As long as we both shall live.
With God as my witness.
With God as my witness.
I give you my pledge.
I give you my pledge.
Tiffani, repeat after me. I, Tiffani, take you, Brandon.
I, Tiffani, take you, Brandon.
To be my husband.
To be my husband.
To have and to hold.
To have and to hold.
From this day forward.
From this day forward.
For better or for worse.
For better or for worse.
For richer or for poorer.
For richer or for poorer.
In sickness and in health.
In sickness and in health.
To love and to cherish.
To love and to cherish.
Excluding all others.
Excluding all others.
As we both shall live.
As we both shall live.
With God as my witness.
With God as my witness.
I give you my pledge.
I give you my pledge.
You've chosen to seal your vows by giving and receiving of rings. The rings form a perfect circle without a beginning and without an end, and is thereby a symbol of eternity and signifies the duration of the commitment that you are making. These rings are made to signify the purity and the value of the relationship into which you are entering. Let us now exchange these rings. Brandon, you have the privilege of placing this ring on Tiffani's finger in the virtue of an exclusive covenant relationship into which you are now entering. So repeat after me. I give you this ring.
I give you this ring.
As a symbol of my vow.
As a symbol of my vow.
And with all that I am.
And with all that I am.
And with all that I have.
And with all that I have.
I will honor you.
I will honor you.
Now, Tiffani, you have the privilege of placing this ring on Brandon's finger in the virtue of an exclusive covenant relationship into which you are now entering. Repeat after me. I give you this ring.
Give you this ring.
As a symbol of my vow.
As a symbol of my vow.
And with all that I am.
And with all that I am.
And with all that I have.
And with all that I have.
I will honor you.
I will honor you.
And now the couple will be taking communion and lighting of the unity candle.
We kind of winged the ring thing.
So this is a moment where Jesus was getting ready to prepare and die, and he was with his disciples, and he broke the bread, and he said, "This is the new covenant in which you will practice." And so when you do this, this body represents my body that's being broken. So by the authority vested in me in the minister of the gospel, and in accordance with the laws of the state of Alabama, I now pronounce you husband and wife. Brandon, you may kiss your bride. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce you to the very first time, Mr. and Mrs. McLeod. Thank you again so much for being a part of this celebration. The newly married couple now invites you to the celebration at Aldrich Garden following. Thank you so much for being a part of this.